Does so well is understand the grammar of visual effects. So he knows where the audience's brain will just go with and trust something that is fake without recognizing that it's fake.
This is quite sad. I was sexually abused as a child, and I'm worried that my personality and history will lead me to abuse others. Have you thought about a career in the Catholic Church?
Uh-oh, Richard! Oh, wow!
Question. I think this is fake.
You think it's fake? What's that? Is that fake? Huh? What the hell's wrong with you? That's open hand slap, huh? You think it's fake?
Greetings. Welcome to the Hawkeye Rising YouTube channel. I'm Clint, your host, your Hawkeye. Rocking a Mellow Johnny's cap today.
Where are all the other players in the story? I get it. I need to be punished. But we got to look at the whole... Don't we have to look at the whole play?
The king's to blame.
Obviously, Lance Armstrong connection, if you aren't familiar with that. But talking about the captain, our Johnny, nothing mellow about Johnny. Had a great interview with Bill Hughes recently posted. I know there's some other, oh boy. Okay, well, anyway, links will be in the description. But just if you're checking out my channel, anyway, thank you very much for being here. Let's see. I was hoping to try and make this relatively brief. And somehow, why my okay? Bill Hughes. I wanted to mention that because there was a discussion. I wasn't able to take notes. Of course, the beauty of listening to things while doing other things. Yes, it's not about. Sometimes you can't take notes. Obviously, it's nice to be able to sit down and watch and listen and take notes at the same time. Sometimes it's not possible. I try my best. What I create to that you can listen to. Yes, of course. I'm also putting in either clips or images or sometimes text. So sometimes that can be missed if you're just listening. So that's the trade-off. For me, I'm still figuring out what works best for me, how I can express myself best, how I feel best, how I feel rewarded, and some kind of catharsis after all is said and done. Because obviously, this information, there's nothing really cathartic about it apart from being able to share it, and with the hope and belief, and also the faith of somehow, some way that somebody out there at some point, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but at some point somebody will hear something I've said or something that one of my teammates, like Eric, 777, Johnny Cerrucci, in any of his 5 books, and the work he's posted on Odyssey after his YouTube, 4 or 5 YouTube channels have been deleted and scrubbed and deleted. And Doc Felipe's channel's disappeared. George doesn't have his own channel yet. Whether that'll happen, maybe we get to break his balls a little more. Also, George, with your sound, sometimes. Anyway, welcome. Glad you're here. Okay. Let's see. Obviously, there's a lot of information. I don't know if this necessarily needs to be addressed. We got the smackdown between Willard Carroll Smith and Christopher something Rock. Smith smacks Rock. Do we need to break that down? You can clearly see which happened in what is it, the 90 something Academy Awards, 92nd, 93rd, 92nd. When men confront each other, or when one man knows he's in the wrong or has done something that has provoked some kind of confrontation, I'm not saying go and rewatch this. You've already seen it. I don't know how many times. It still seems to be at the top of the news cycle and trending very well still, and it still has a massive amount of momentum. But when do men in any kind of confrontation act like this? You have, and I come from a point of view where there's nothing organic on television. There's nothing organic on television whatsoever. If you, by virtue of you listening to this, you probably already are in agreement. But if not, oh boy, from example to example, well, if you're able to re-examine an unedited or the full clip, there's the offense. Rock makes obviously makes it. I don't even know why am I talking about this. I guess it's important enough that's on my mind, so I'm going to bring it up. So I just want to point to the fact that you have Chris Rock leaning to his left, subtly, both his hands behind his back. Does he stand like that any other time during the night? I've not examined it. I've not watched the awards. But the fact you take before and after, he's not standing with his hands behind his back, so he's in a pose and obviously bracing because he has a subtle lean to his left, which is Will Smith's right. The striking the Smith's right side or his right hand. Anyway, yes, it's fascinating. Scripted, yes, I believe. What I don't believe Rock was read in on was how Smith, what's the word? Took it further and dropping F-bombs twice after the smack event. But I just wanted to point out that okay, I'm right before me. I'm not looking exactly. I know that Willard or Will Carroll with 2 R's and 2 L's, significance. Is that a link to Carroll Quigley? Is that a link to John Carroll, Daniel Carroll, John Carroll? But I think you can easily look up that Smith did attend a Catholic church growing up. I think there was also possibly a Jewish school, and there was a third religion in there somewhere too. Anyway, but I wanted to point out that his grandfather. So William Carroll Smith, the actor we're familiar with, is the junior. His father's senior, same name, and has a death date of November 7th, 2016. And I was just looking that up. Now, November 7th is an interesting date. You have the birthday of I don't even know what was Billy Graham's denomination. Anyway, it's birthday of Billy Graham. Just going to look that up. November 7, 1918. He died February 21st, 2018. But so you have the birthday of this American evangelist whose ministry took off as World War II and after Adolf Hitler's demise. I believe that what was learned during Adolf Hitler's not just oratory skills, the reception by the public, because you have this figure that's presented and clearly won a lot of people. Yes, polarizing character at the time and also in his after his death. But I think there was something strategically learned under Father General Vladimir Ledachowski as well about the psychology of not just a great orator, but well, the sum of the parts, the whole context. And then, of course, the Billy Graham Crusades, I think the first being in 1947, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's this controversial meeting on a night train ride where Billy Graham and Bishop Fulton Sheen cross paths, and apparently they have a pajama party. I'm of the opinion that was when, again, this is conjecture, but no, if you're familiar with Johnny Cerrucci's work, Eaters of Children specifically, access to power, well, it's in the title, Eaters of Children, the pedocracy exposed, so access to power is granted through the rape, torture, and ritualistic slaughter of the innocent. I'm familiar with that title because I helped, after the incredible labor of Johnny, proofread it, and if I could find as many spelling mistakes and so on, there might be still some. Anyway, it's as brutal a read as it is. It's a great read. It's essential, and I believe it should be textbook material. I realize I'm rambling on here, but back to Billy Graham's rise to prominence in so-called Protestant America. I believe there was a compromise that night on the night train with Bishop Fulton Sheen. And unfortunately, and I feel disgusting saying this, I believe the compromise, it wasn't just about discussing beliefs and having a prayer, a night in prayer in pajamas, but there was a sexual compromise. And I believe whatever Graham was promised, he literally gave it up and was buggered by Fulton Sheen. And if Graham was alive and I had access to, standing face to face, I would ask him. I'm not afraid or ashamed of bringing this up, because these are what Billy Graham was used to do, and for Rome, as specifically. Anyway, it's coming out. Anyway, November 7th. So we have the birthday, we have the death date of popular or unpopular anti-hero actor Steve McQueen in 1980. Who else? There was I think there's a Janet Reno in there, who died in 2016. American lawyer who served as the 78th United States Attorney General under President Bill Clinton. Of course, Clinton in office from 93 to 2001. But also November 7th, this is where you have all Dominican saints and blesseds. The Dominican order is also known as the Order of the Preachers. And let's see, you have an order of the Catholic Church founded in Toulouse, France, by the Spanish priest Saint Dominic, approved by Pope Honor Erroneous III via the papal bull Religiosum Vitam on December 22nd, 1216. Just think 200 years after this, you'd have the burning of Jan Hus. So, okay, that's why I think I thought of Bill Hughes. I know that there was a discussion walking through history. I think it dealt with some of the Crusades. Anyway, pardon me for not being, having it all accurate, but specific. So from, let's say, specifically 538 AD, I know for sure. So the Justinian decree in 538, and discussing the papal head wound, but covering the history, I believe, up until around the 1200s, and I know the Magna Carta was mentioned as well, so around 1215 and so on. So anyway, I'll leave a link in the description. Brilliant interview with between Johnny Cerrucci and Seventh-day Adventist Bill Hughes. I am not an Adventist. I am a born-again Christian, and that obviously has shaped, that's my bias, my worldview, but I would tell you that it's very different from the so-called Christianity of today. Yes, I have my own wrestling with whether it's the 66-book Bible, whether it's the 87-book Bible, or pick your number. But the fact, I think the 66-book Bible is the emaciated version of the Word. And of course, if as a student, it isn't just about one translation. It's about using many translations. And we have access to so much information online for our own personal study. And then, of course, there are great lectures and teachings out there. Of course, all with a grain of salt, because who has trained those people? So, and that is why having discernment, asking for discernment and wisdom is very important from our Father in heaven. And 3, just give thanks. Thank you, Father, for your Son. If you're not a Christian, that by no means is this, this is about alienating you or pushing you away. This information that I try and present is important to everybody, all beliefs, all faiths, all or none. I come from a worldview that, well, if the gospel existed in the first the 10 names of the first 10 patriarchs from Adam to Noah, pre-flood. From Adam to Noah, man is appointed mortal sorrow, but the blessed God shall come down, teaching that his death shall bring the despairing comfort and rest. I've heard arguments of, let's say, Christianity plagiarizing the Egyptian Ankh, and it's no, the Ankh came from, and I believe pre-flood, the nature and the manner in which Cain, in a premeditated sense, murdered and slaughtered Abel, his brother. Anyway, I'll leave that at that. So, order the preachers, November 7th. We have November 7th is similar to November 2nd, All Saints. No, I'm sorry, to November 1st, All Saints Day. November 2nd is All Souls Day. November 1st is All Saints Day. So a day for saints, to celebrate saints. And is it specific to Roman Catholicism? You'll have to look that up. But if a saint isn't listed in particular throughout the Gregorian calendar, then that saint is celebrated on All Saints Day. And then also everybody who, I don't fully understand it yet. I'm still a student myself. But in the Dominican order, November 7th is the exact same. It's quite similar to All Saints Day on November 1st. And why am I... Sorry, just jumping around here. What I wanted to get to, though, who is the... Where is he? The 88th Master of the Order of Preachers, or the Dominican Order, since the 13th of July, 2019, is Gerard Francisco Parco Timoner III. So Gerard Francisco, or if you just say Gerard Timoner, that obviously hides the Francisco. Francis, since the 13th of July, 2019, the first Asian to hold the position. He is also professor of theology at the University of Santo Tomas in Manila, and since 2014 a member of the International Theological Commission. Okay, this is just looking at his his wiki page. So you have his ordination. So the 14th of May, 1995, the feast day of Saint Corona, May 14th. May 14th, the feast day of Saint Corona in 1796 was the date, the historical date of the, okay, I want to say that, so it's in the textbooks. Who writes the textbooks? So in the textbooks of Edward Freemason Jenner, of his first inoculation of I believe it was James Phipps, May 14th, 1796. That's okay, so back to Gerard Francis Timonor. Born on January 26, 1968. January 26. Where do we know that date from? We have the birth, no, the death. I'm going to look this up. I want to get this right. You have the death date of Edward Jenner. He died January 26, 1823. You have the death date of Kobe Bryant in 2020. Gerard Francis, so born January 26, 68. In the Philippines, he attended the Augustinian-administered La Consolation College. Remember, even Martin Luther came from an Augustinian background. He was an Augustinian monk. Does that mean we have to start Roman Catholic first and to be able to turn or come out of her? No. Well, in some ways, we're all kind of, how are we baptized? Either as we get a good Jesuit education, no matter where we go for education, or we're anyway, just a rabbit hole. Graduating from honors and his high school valedictorian in 1985, he obtained his licentiate in philosophy at the Philippine Dominican Center for International Studies in 1991, and a licentiate in theology at the University of Santo Tomas in 1994. He joined the Dominicans in 1985 and professed his vows he joined the Dominicans in 1985, professed his vows in 1989. Timonor was an ordained priest in 1995, earned additional degrees in sacred theology and intercultural theology at the Catholic University of Nijmegen in 2004. On September 23, 2014, Pope Francis named him a member of the International Theological Commission. He is the fourth Filipino to have that distinction. Okay, so back to November 7th. So just acknowledging that member of the Smith patriarchy. So William Carroll Smith Jr. So Will Smith, his grandfather. Sorry. Now I want to cuss. His father, Will Smith Sr., died November 7th, 2016. So let's just revisit. Staged event, nothing organic on television. Clearly, whether it was to the further degradation of whether it's a black American or black men, period. There's the so-called toxic masculinity, regardless of color. There's the so-called patriarchy narrative that this feeds into. Pardon my language, but clearly bullshit. Now, of course, at some point we'll go further explore that, but I'll just leave that one there. What I did want to get into today, today is John Francis Regis's, what is it? His canonization date. We know that so-called saints, you have their birth and their death date. Usually their feast day is their death date, but that doesn't always apply because of if feast days are already taken, particularly on the date of that someone who's been declared a saint has died. Sometimes the date will share, or the sitting pope will move things around for on the saint's behalf. So you have the birthday, January 31st. 1597, you have the death date of John Francis Regis of the 31st of December 31st, 1640. He was beatified. So beatification is the recognition accorded by the Catholic Church of a deceased person's entrance into heaven, and capacity to intercede on behalf of individuals who pray in their name. Are we called to pray to the dead? I believe I've discussed in part this before. So just defining beatification. Canonization is the declaration of a deceased person of an officially recognized saint, specifically the official act of Christian communion declaring a person worthy of public veneration and entering their name in the canon catalog of saints. So, John Francis Regis was declared a saint on April 5th, 1737, under Pope Clement the Seventh. And I've brought this up before, that Regis has there's two feast days listed. One is the 16th of June, the other one is the 10th of September. Of course, and then recognizing too the significance of John Francis Regis being the namesake of, I want to say, Anthony Stephen Fauci's either high school. That can be looked up as well easily. Nothing hidden there, but there's the connection, and then of course the death date of Francis Regis being right on the heels of the December 30th, December 31st of 2019. The Dr. Li Wenliang in China being the so-called whistleblower of the Crown Victoria, the Corona Triumphalis. Okay, so today, the intention of today, the canonization date of Jesuit John Francis Regis. I wanted to just briefly touch Jesuit Pope Francis's full remarks, apology for abuses by some Catholic Church members in residential schools. Yes, this is a controversial topic. I'm reading from the cbc.ca site, posted on April 1st. I've covered April 1st before. It's familiar to us as April Fool's Day. Yeah, so is it the big joke? It's also recognizing, okay, Francis being a Jesuit, so a master of mental reservation, casuistry, sophistry, parts of speech. If you recognize Jesuitism, remember the 1828 definition. It's clearly, the one word can sum it up: deception. Pope Francis apologized on Friday for the conduct of some members. Okay, this pisses me off. Start this again. Pope Francis apologized on Friday for the conduct of some members of the Roman Catholic Church in Canada's residential school system, following a week of talks with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis delegations. His remarks were translated from Italian. I'm not going to read the entire text. I did highlight, and I've lost the highlighting. Of the many points that stuck out, it's funny that poisson, French word. I thank, dear brothers and sisters, good morning and welcome. I thank Bishop Raymond Poisson for his kind words, and each of you for your presence here and for the prayers that you have offered to heaven. I'm grateful that you have come to Rome despite the difficulties caused by the pandemic. Remember Poisson and the relationship to April 1st. The joke being the fish on the back. Anyway, it's a joke, it's a mockery. And the fact that you have the high priest of Dagon, he may not have been in his mitre hat during this presentation or this sitting, but you have to recognize who is this? What is the Pope? What is the papacy? The papacy is the little horn power of Daniel, of Rome, the fourth and final beast of Daniel in Revelation. The office of the papacy is Antichrist, as Anti-Messiah, literally the antithesis, and the office is shared with the Black Pope, the superior general of the Society of Jesus. So when you have a man and the office that we've been given thousands of years ago and 2,000 years ago, we've been warned, we've been given information about this particular man, or line of men, and this office. It is the preserved seat of Nimrod, and the high priest of Dagon. His garment, one of his garments being the mitre hat, the fish head, the fish cap. And I would even say, with Francis being the first Jesuit priest, on his mitre is the inverted. It's not just an inverted cross. Of course, in our mind, we think of cross as there's the post and the cross beam. But look up, you have the stake, or the storos, and the patibulum, or the cross beam. So it looks like, instead of like so, it's like so. And on Francis's mitre, you have the inverted patibulum, so it's an upside down T, essentially. That's never discussed. So what does he wear on his head? I would like to take up a few of the many things that have struck me. Let me start from a saying that this is part of your traditional wisdom. It is not only a turn of phrase, but also a way of viewing life. In every deliberation, we must consider the impact on the seventh generation. And I want to say that potentially, I think this is from 1965. So Pope John the 23rd is cited as, "The mark of Cain is stamped upon our foreheads. Across the centuries, our brother Abel was slain in blood, which we drew, and shed tears we caused by forgetting thy love. Forgive us, Lord, for the curse we falsely attributed to their name as Jews. Forgive us for crucifying thee a second time in their flesh, for we not know what we did." There's something, I'm a student too, but in St. Peter's Square, you have the eight-pointed, and potentially I'll throw in the image. So the eight-pointed star, this, whether you want to call it sunburst, sundial, sun symbol, but the eight-pointed star, the double cross at the base of the obelisk, brought from Egypt under Caligula's orders, and topped with a cross. And I am of the mind now, yes, there's the mark of the beast. Is it 666? Is it the Greek letters chi, xi, stigma? And of course, since completely another rabbit hole to go down, or multiple, but symbolically, mark on the right hand for first forehead thoughts leading to deeds. So there's the symbolic mark, but the literal mark, and because of my study with the Jesuit order and the history of Canada, Canadian history, I believe that the mark of the beast is in part the cross and also the crucifix. Now, I'm not here to support that at the moment, but I'm just wanted to make that statement, put that out there. You can think about it. But in part, the symbolism of St. Peter's Square, yes, you have the womb of Isis, the rotunda, and the making up the part of the building at the Vatican. But in the square, where people gather and surround and walk on, there's the eight-pointed star, so the mark of Cain, or the signature of Anu, which I believe also in part is the four nails, in part that how Cain slaughtered Abel. You have that system that came through the flood. Its idea. Now, of course, this is of great debate. We call it resurrected, but it sprouted up at Babel. The erection, the phallus of Osiris, the phallus of Nimrod, up from the earth, up from the water, the flood, the deluge. So you have the phallus, the phallus of Nimrod, and then topped with the cross. And that is what the Jesuit order, by that symbol, went essentially through the entire world, the entire flat earth in the 16th century. As a result of what? Not just the courage of Martin Luther, yes, standing on the shoulders of Wycliffe and Jan Hus, who came before, so Luther, but you also have the printing press, the Gutenberg press. And Rome's response, literally the Counter-Reformation, was Ignatius Loyola and his 6 companions, swearing an oath to the Virgin Mary, August 15th, 1534, and being recognized by papal bull under Pope Paul III, Regimini Militantis Ecclesia, on September 27th, 1541. And when you the fraternity, the lineage, the force behind this letter, what Pope Francis read, so it goes back literally 500 years to Ignatius Loyola. And if you're not familiar with the fourth vow, it is imperative you familiarize yourself with this vow, because by that spirit and by that oath, our world is run. That order has trained our leaders. You have Jesuit trained, practicing, I would say even devout Roman Catholic Justin Trudeau, current Prime Minister of Canada, whose father, Pierre, I have a witness that states he was a professed Jesuit priest. That's by Kathy O'Brien. You have Jesuit-trained Joseph Robinette Biden of the United States of America, current president. Impact on the 7th generation. So we remember the Mark of Cain, these are wise words, far-sighted, and the exact opposite of what often happens in our day when we run after practical and immediate goals without thinking of the future and generations yet to come. Instead, the ties that connect the elderly and the young are essential. Are they? Published today, Canada, another CBC article, Canada's Vaccine Advisory Body recommends rapid deployment of fourth doses for 80-plus-year-olds. Talk about binding the young and the old together. Okay. Jumping down, I would like to speak of some of those fruits which deserve to be better known and appreciated. Okay. Francis acknowledges the First Nations way of life, the caring for the land, and then I did want to get to the apology, the so-called apology. Now remember, sophistry, casuistry, mental reservation. Without real indignation, without historical memory, and without a commitment to learn from past mistakes, problems remain unresolved and keep coming back. We can see this these days in the case of war. The memory of the past must never be sacrificed at the altar of alleged progress. And keeping in mind, this is translated from Italian. So Pope Francis speaking, I also feel shame. I have said this to you, and now I'm repeating it. Sorrow and shame for the role that a number of Catholics, particularly those with educational responsibilities, have had in all these things that wounded you, in the abuses you suffered, and in the lack of respect shown for your identity, your culture, and even your spiritual values. All these things are contrary to the gospel of Jesus Christ. For the deplorable conduct of these members of the Catholic Church, I ask for God's forgiveness, and I want to say to you with all my heart, I am very sorry. And I join my brothers, the Canadian bishops, in asking your pardon. Clearly, the content of faith cannot be transmitted in a way contrary to the faith itself. Jesus taught us to welcome, love, serve, and not judge. It is a frightening thing, then, when, precisely in the name of the faith, counter-witness is rendered to the gospel. Your experiences have made me ponder anew these ever-timely questions the Creator addresses to mankind in the first pages of the Bible. After the first sin, he asks, "Where are you?" Then a few pages later, he asks another question, inseparable from the first, "Where is your brother? Where are you? Where is your brother?" These are questions we should never stop asking. They are the essential questions raised by our conscience, lest we ever forget that we are here on this earth as guardians of the sacredness of life and as guardians of our brothers and sisters and brothers of all peoples. And then, okay, and jumping down, at the same time, I think with gratitude of all those good and decent believers who in the name of the faith and with respect, love, and kindness have enriched your history with the gospel. I think with joy, for example, of the great veneration that many of you have for Saint Anne, the grandmother of Jesus. This year I would like to be with you on those days. Apparently, the feast of Saint Anne is July 26th. And whether or not Francis will be present, whether it's next year on Canadian soil, and yeah, and interestingly enough, in the days of in between Ignatius of Loyola's, for his death and feast day is July 31st. Ignatius, July 31st, but his beatification date is July 27th. And he was beatified in 1609 by Pope Paul V. And then, of course, canonized March 12th, 1622, with his good friend and co-founder of the Society of Jesus, Francis Xavier, and also with Teresa of Avila. I've mentioned her before as well in relationship to her birth and death dates, the Gregorian calendar, Jesuit Christopher Clavius, and so on. Okay, I think, and then I did want to mention too, I was thinking of adding, I'll add, I think it's on Eric 777's channel, John, there was about a 45 minute video that Johnny did a special brief about the Canadian residential school of St. Anne's, and excellent video, and it did, there's something we definitely need to remember, and I want to, so the first residential schools, children were not taken from their homes. Children were willingly given over to the society, to residential schools, willingly by their parents. And looking at the given name, Chief Dan George, was an accomplished performer, poet, philosopher, champion of the First Nations people, loving patriarch of a large family. He was born in 1899 on a Salish band reserve on Burrard Inlet in North Vancouver, one of 12 children of the chief.
And now the white man is sneaking up on me again.
Seems like we can't trust the white man.
You bet we can't.
His given name was, pardon me, I don't want to get this wrong. I want to get it right, because this is, I want to say this respectfully, Tswanho, meaning thunder coming up over the land from the water. Like most native children at the time, under the influence of the Catholic Church and in need of white culture's education, he went to a residential school at the age of 5, so as not to be separated from his cherished older brother, Harry. I did want, okay, here we go. Biography.yourdictionary.com, Dan George. George's family was part of the Tel Lal Wat band of the Burrard Inlet group of Squamish, classified as a Coast Salish nation. He was named, oh boy, I do not want to say this name and butcher it, but his name was anglicized when he started school at the Roman Catholic Oblate Mission. His father, so Dan George's father believed it was best for his children's future to learn English, so he decided to send George's older brother to the mission school. However, the boys were so close that Harry refused to go without his little brother. So his father sent both boys, so both Harry and George, or Dan George. They knew no English when they arrived and were forbidden to speak their native language. George found the priests and nuns in their strange garb terrifying for a little boy of my age. As he told biographer Hilda Mortimer, and you called me Chief, impressions of the life of Chief Dan George. They saw their parents twice a month. Every 2 weeks we'd catch the streetcar to the end of the line, he recalled, then walk 7 miles to go home on a Friday night. In the beginning, children were given over to Rome. And I think in part the irony of not only the Willard Carroll Smith slap in the face, it is also the Indigenous Delegation that was in Rome from the 28th of March to April 1st to meet with Francis, Jesuit Francis. And the irony being that any parent, any guardian that has given their children over for the snake bite, the Roman Faustian snake bite, has just participated in the same act that parents did when they gave their children over to the Roman Catholic Jesuitical, it doesn't matter the denomination, all ruled by Rome. We have just participated in the exact same call it a spiritual exercise, I don't know. 400 to 500 years ago, it was a micro experiment. Okay, maybe not an experiment, but the exercise clearly has gone worldwide, and parents all over the world have given their children, the future generations, over to Rome. And what do we know of residential school history? What was the fruit? Absolute destruction of souls, of hearts, of families. Rape, torture, absolute dysfunction, loss of identity, memory, and pain. And in the end being weakened with the annihilation of the warrior class. And I believe in part that system was also in place because as a direct response of the first missionaries, the treatment of the first missionaries, the killing of them. Anyway, this is going on a little further than what I wanted, but I hope somehow I've connected some dots clear enough for you to continue on in your own research. And two, just an encouragement. If somebody had pointed out, yes, whether it's my editing or lack thereof, creating poor content. Okay, remember, you're please take it upon yourself. You've seen something that clearly there's a need. Take up the mantle, take up the mark, and whether it's creating your own videos and so on. But you have a responsibility now. You've heard the message. And what do watchmen do? What do messengers do? They pull their earbuds out from their ears. They're literally, there's a lion in the streets. What are you going to do? Okay, until next time. It's your Hawkeye. Thank you for being here. I love you very much, and I don't know you, but I'm motivated by my love and my whatever that is given to me from my Father in heaven and through my faith in his Son, Yahushua Mashiach, Jesus of Nazareth. So, bless you and your families. Bye for now.